It's been a long time since I last used TeamViewer, and today I have a reason to go back to it. I have some friends who need help configuring a few Linux machines, and rather than trying to walk them through everything over the phone, I thought it would be much easier to connect to their computers remotely and help them directly. So, in this video, we're going to install TeamViewer on Windows, take a look at how it works today, and see what's changed since the last time I used it. I'll go through the installation, set it up, connect to another computer, and test out the remote control features. So let's install TeamViewer and see what it looks like these days. Here we have two options. The first one, download TeamViewer, is the full TeamViewer application. This is what we want because we're going to provide support and remotely connect to other computers. The second option is quick support. That's mainly designed for someone who needs to receive support. They can run quick support without going through the full installation process and give the support person the information needed to connect. Once the download is complete, open the installer. After launching the installer, we get three options. The default installation installs TeamViewer normally, which is what I'll use for this video. The second option, install and set up unattended access to this device, is useful if you want to access this computer remotely without someone having to accept the connection each time. And the third option, run only, lets you use TeamViewer without installing it permanently, which can be useful for a one-time support session. Now we're at the TeamViewer interface, and there's one noticeable change from how I remember using TeamViewer back in the day. Previously, you could simply open TeamViewer, use the ID and password, and connect without creating an account. Today, TeamViewer is much more account focused. If you want to provide support and manage or access devices through the full TeamViewer interface, you'll need to sign in with a TeamViewer account. Creating the TeamViewer account is pretty straightforward. I've already gone ahead and created my account, and as you can see, it's now verified. I didn't want to take you through the entire account creation process because it's quite simple, and going through every step would just make the video unnecessarily long. So now that the account is created and verified, let's continue and see how TeamViewer works. We have two options here. The first one, start TeamViewer with Windows, will automatically launch TeamViewer whenever Windows starts. The second one, grant easy access to this device, allows you to connect to this computer more easily from your TeamViewer account without needing someone at the computer to approve the connection each time. I can now sign in using my new credentials. And now we're inside the main TeamViewer interface. On the left, we have options for remote support, devices, chat, and other TeamViewer features. The main section is divided into two parts. On the left, we have Allow Remote Control, where we can see our TeamViewer ID and password. We can share these with someone who needs to connect to our computer. On the right, we have Control Remote Device. This is where I can enter the ID, IP address, or hostname of the computer I want to connect to. Since I'm going to be providing support, this is the section I'll be using to connect to my friends' machines. And as you can see at the top, we're currently using the free license for non-commercial use, which is exactly what we need for this demonstration. This is TeamViewer's newer web-style connection system, which replaces the old ID and password method. Instead of sharing fixed numbers, you now create temporary on-demand connection slots. This is your central hub for managing active connections. It explicitly defaults to the Sessions tab instead of showing an ID box. It shows you a blank slate because you do not have any active remote control invites open at the moment. Join a session. This is what you use when someone else is trying to connect to your computer and they send you a temporary code. You type the specific temporary code they gave you into the session code field to securely grant them access to your screen. But if I'm the one providing the support, I can click New Session. TeamViewer then generates a session link and session code that I can share with the person I'm helping. I can also enter their email address to send the session details directly. So instead of simply giving someone my TeamViewer ID and password like we traditionally did, I can now create a dedicated support session and have the other person join using the session code or link. This looks like one of the bigger changes compared with how I remember using TeamViewer. For a normal home user, this is pretty much all you need to use TeamViewer. You can install it, create an account, provide remote support, connect to another computer, and manage your remote sessions. But if you're using TeamViewer in a business environment, there's a lot more available. Over the last few years, TeamViewer has evolved from what was essentially a simple remote desktop and support application into a much broader enterprise platform. For example, under devices, you can manage and organize computers and other devices from your TeamViewer account. Then there's chat, which allows you to communicate with your contacts directly through TeamViewer. Under more solutions, we have several additional tools. Automation and Insights provides monitoring and automation capabilities, allowing businesses to monitor devices and identify issues before they become bigger problems. Meeting provides online meeting and collaboration features, including audio, video, and screen sharing. Remote management goes further into IT administration with features for things like device monitoring, asset management, endpoint protection, and backup. And then there's Assist AR, which uses augmented reality to provide more advanced remote assistance. This can be useful when someone needs help with a physical device or equipment and the support technician needs to see what the person is looking at. So, TeamViewer has definitely grown quite a bit. For what I'm doing today, helping friends configure their Linux machines, I don't need all of these enterprise features. The standard remote support functionality is more than enough. But it's interesting to see just how much TeamViewer has expanded since the last time I used it. There's also an admin settings section, but this is different from the regular TeamViewer settings. This area is designed for organizations and businesses, where administrators can manage users, devices, security policies, access permissions, event logs, and other company-wide settings. As you can see, most of these options are currently grayed out because we're using the free non-commercial license. These management features become available when you purchase a commercial license or join an existing TeamViewer company account. So, for a normal home user, you don't need to worry about this section. The regular settings are where you'll configure things like security, unattended access, authentication, and your personal TeamViewer preferences. Before we actually connect to another computer, I also want to take a quick look through the normal settings because there are quite a few options here. Under authentication, we have security options such as two-factor authentication and trusted devices. These add another layer of protection to your TeamViewer account and help prevent unauthorized sign-ins. There's also customization where you can change things like the appearance, enable dark mode, and even switch between the new TeamViewer interface and the classic interface. Then we have the more traditional TeamViewer settings, including advanced and security. Under security, we can configure things like easy access, the random password used for spontaneous connections, password strength, connection rules, and even two-factor authentication for connections to this computer. The advanced settings go even further with options for automatic updates, access control, connection behavior, and other detailed settings. For a normal home user, you probably won't need to change most of these. The default settings are generally enough to get started, but if you're using TeamViewer to regularly manage computers, especially in a business or IT environment, these settings become much more important because they give you much greater control over security and access. If you prefer the simpler, older TeamViewer layout, you can switch back to the classic interface. TeamViewer will then restart and return to the classic layout, which brings back the more familiar interface with sections such as remote control, remote management, meeting, computers and contacts, and chat. If you switch back, TeamViewer also asks why you're returning to the classic interface, but providing feedback is optional. Now let's put this into practice. I have TeamViewer installed on my Debian machine, which is running Linux. We'll use the Debian machine as the client and connect to the Windows machine we just configured. On the Windows computer, we already have the TeamViewer ID displayed. So from the Debian machine, I'll enter that ID into the partner ID field, select remote control, and click connect. But I need to be logged in for this to happen. The process is quite straightforward. On the Debian computer, I just have to enter the TeamViewer ID of the Windows machine and select Remote Control. TeamViewer will then contact the remote computer and prompt me for the password displayed on that Windows machine. The person on the other side has to tell me the password showing on the Windows machine if unattended access is not configured. Once the correct password is entered, the connection is established, and you would see and control the Windows desktop remotely from Debian. This is one of the main advantages of TeamViewer. The computers don't have to be running the same operating system. In this example, we're controlling Windows from Linux. But TeamViewer isn't just about controlling the remote desktop. We can also transfer files between the two computers. From the connected session, I can open files and extras file transfer. From here, we can select files or folders and use send to transfer them from the local computer to the Windows machine, or receive to bring files from Windows back to Debian. So TeamViewer gives us more than just a remote screen. We can control the computer, move files between machines, and perform other tasks remotely. And that's going to wrap up this TeamViewer walkthrough. For a normal home user, that's really all you need to get started with TeamViewer. For simply helping a family member, accessing your own PC remotely, or transferring files between computers, the basic TeamViewer remote control functionality is more than enough. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.